Alright, so it is the night of Friday, the 1st of March, and yeah, this has been a day for not so much GoPro riding footage as video blogs of broken down bikes and stuck in small towns, etc. But here's the room we're in. Pretty basic, but it is only 29 bucks, so I'm just not going to complain too much. The bed is comfy, as Brad would attest here.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, update on the situation is basically yeah, Brad's bike is still broken. We still don't know what quite it is. We had a mechanic in town actually that a very nice Ponga boatman who is currently in the town because it's very high winds out on the coast, so all the whale watching tours are grounded, as it were. So this Ponga guy, he was in the square earlier, and as were quite a few guys, they're kind of gathering around and kibitzing in Spanish. And I wasn't understanding a whole lot of what they were saying. Not that they were motorcycle repairmen, but this guy did know a motorcycle repairman, and he was nice enough to drive Brad all over town and find this motorcycle mechanic of sorts. He seemed to think it was a valve that needed replaced. It's way too heavy of a sound to be a valve. It's more. We think it's the cam chain, possibly the cam chain tensioner broke or spring in it broke. So that's what we're going to look at tomorrow, and failing that, we're going to try to find a truck to put it on to Santa Rosalia. Supposedly there's a motorcycle mechanic there. Not completely holding my breath, otherwise maybe further south to Laredo. And failing that, the owner of this hotel has a friend who's heading to Tijuana on Monday. And presumably, I mean, we have tomorrow Saturday and the next day Sunday. Monday at noon, he's heading back. So for 180 bucks, he'll bring Brad and his bike all the way to the border. So that's where we're at. The adventure continues. We're not sure how much more of it will involve riding. Hopefully some more, but if not, it's been good so far.
So that was Friday night, and as it turned out, we didn't actually end up leaving San Ignacio until Wednesday. So we were there for 6 days, 5 nights, and had no idea at the time that we would be there that long. And by the time we left San Ignacio, we really almost felt like locals. It seemed like everybody knew us. We had talked to just about everybody in town. It's a very small town, but we didn't get any pictures or hardly any footage of it all, with one amazing exception that you'll see later on in this episode. On Saturday, we woke up early, and Brad went into his bike pretty quickly. He had already adjusted the valves the previous day, and of course that didn't do anything. We took a look at the cam chain tensioner, and it was actually functioning correctly. So we thought maybe it was the cam chain that was slapping the sides of the case, and that was not the case. The owner of our hotel, an older man named Oscar, he had actually been an auto mechanic for 25 years, I think he said, and he thought that the sound was detonation. It sounded much more metallic to us than detonation, but neither Brad nor I are mechanics, so we started thinking, okay, maybe there's something to this. We took his bike up to an auto parts store and got some octane booster, and threw that in, and then rode it a few miles up and down the road, and it was still doing it actually much worse than it was the previous day. So we said, okay, we need to stop here before we blow up the bike. So we're at this auto parts store, and a white pickup truck rolls up, and this guy named Javier, he had apparently heard of us. We didn't know him from Adam, but he gets out and says, hey, I hear that you guys have a broken motorcycle. We say, yeah, that's us. He goes, well, there's a motorcycle mechanic over in Santa Rosalia, 40 miles east. I can take you there. I'm in town for a funeral. My aunt's funeral is today. I have to go do that, but in a few hours, if you guys still need a ride, just meet me here, and I'll take you 40 miles east to Santa Rosalia, no charge. I'll just take care of gas, which was a very generous offer, we thought. And so okay, that's cool. We went in and talked to the parts store clerk, and he actually said there is a mechanic here in town that does know something about motos, has worked on them before. He's not really a motorcycle mechanic, more of a mechanical mad genius was kind of the feeling we got about this guy. And so we followed the parts store clerk's directions and found Joel. He had about 6 different projects going on at the time, but he saw our bike and took one listen to it for about 5 seconds and said, yeah, you got a problem with your cam chain. He said, I can get in there, I can fix it this afternoon. He just dropped everything. And we said, thank you so much. His rate that he offered was very reasonable. And so we dropped the bike off and rode 2 up on mine back into town. So a little bit later, we were sitting in the square drinking beer, as we do, and Joel rolls up. He had just pulled the head off of the bike, and he showed us this head. The rocker arms were absolutely destroyed, and the camshaft had big old grooves in it. So the noise that we were hearing was actually when the cam lobes would ride up on the rocker arms and then slip off of the ridge down into one of the grooves. There would be a hard metallic slap, and that's exactly what we were hearing. It wasn't always doing it, but whenever that lobe would slip off, then we'd hear that clank. And it's amazing that the bike was running, the condition it was in, really. So that left us in a little bit of a pickle, because these are some pretty major parts. Essentially, we needed to rebuild the top end, and, well, we're pretty well in the middle of nowhere. Brad got on the internet and called a few dealerships up in the U.S. He was thinking maybe they could put parts on a plane down to Loretto. We could go get them. Even to get the parts in the U.S. is 2 to 3 weeks. Nobody was stocking these things. And so then Joel, he checked with some friends also in the area and wasn't able to find any parts. So what Brad ended up suggesting that Joel do was just grind down the grooves in the cam lobe and the rocker arms, and that would at least just get us to civilization where we could stash the bike until we could get good parts. And Joel said, well, that might work, but what would be better is if I welded it up first and then ground it down. So I said, okay, well, we're not mechanics. This sounds like a kind of crazy idea, but it just might work, get us to civilization. So that's what Joel did. He actually, all of that next day, the next day was a Sunday, and he spent the entire day going to Vizcaíno, 40 miles west, to a friend's machine shop that was closed. He called his buddy up, and his buddy opened up the machine shop, and they basically remanufactured these parts. And when he got back on Sunday night, they were like new. They appeared to be. And so the bike was back together and to us by Sunday night. In the meantime, back on Saturday, after we talked to Joel and we're trying to figure out the part situation, we're sitting in the square drinking beer, as we do. And Javier, the guy with the white pickup who had offered to give us the ride, he rolls up. And we'd caught up with him earlier and said, we don't need the ride, thanks, but no thanks. But anyways, this is after his aunt's funeral. He rolls up and says, hey, you guys want to go get some food and drink some beers? We're having a party over at one of my relatives' place. So we got in his truck and drove a couple miles away. And this party that we went to, there were probably 40 or 50 people there. And they were actually all of his relatives. Javier is one of 11 kids, and then just has a ton of aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and cousins. And they were basically all there for the funeral. After about an hour at this one party, we jump in his pickup truck and go across town to this little tienda that was owned by his sister-in-law. And there we met his wife and kid and his sister-in-law and some nephews and nieces of his, and talked to them for a while. We sat down for dinner that was cooked by his sister-in-law. It's really nice. Brad actually rode a burro, and this is where I was really kicking myself that I didn't have a camera along. We weren't expecting to do any of this. But yeah, just a nice time. Really nice people. It was good to meet them and good to visit with them. We have a standing offer to visit them in their home, which is in La Bocana. So after that stop, he goes, okay, let's go. And we went to a third party where we met more people. Some of them were the same people from the first party, but me and my poor Spanish and Brad and his hilarious, somewhat non-existent Spanish that all the guys got a real kick out of. Knowing Brad, I mean, I think he would make friends in any country. So anyways, that was Saturday night. We finally got back to our hotel at about midnight. I think people were just kind of staying around on our account, and so I was like, okay, we'd better go because they'll stay out all night if we stay. So we got back on Saturday, late Saturday night, and then Sunday, while Joel was off in Vizcaíno remanufacturing the camshaft and rocker arms, I was sick as a dog. Got a little bit of Montezuma's revenge. Had it actually for 3 or 4 days, but it was worst on that Sunday. And yeah, I was not feeling real good. I've been to Mexico quite a few times since I was a kid. I was there on 3 missions trips when I was a kid, and one of the cardinal rules there was if it's offered to you, whether it's food or drink, you accept it. You do not turn down hospitality, it being such an important part of the Mexican culture. And so when I was a kid, I drank tap water in Mexico. I ate street food or stuff that was, just out of people's homes. And we were doing basically the same thing. I wasn't drinking tap water, but we were eating street food, and then, of course, at Javier's sister-in-law's, and, just not really being too cautious about what we ate and down there this time. And I've never gotten sick in Mexico doing that, so this is my first time. Finally, I can say I've experienced Montezuma's revenge, and it wasn't fun, but I'm not sure I would change anything next time I go either. So we had the bike back by Sunday night. On Monday, then Brad had to ride to Santa Rosalia to the bank to get some money because he was a little bit short. Working on the bike essentially all day, Saturday and Sunday, plus the machine shop charges, came up to $250, which was pretty cheap. I think we would have been very happy with that if it had actually worked, which it did not. The bike made it to Santa Rosalia, was making a racket. Brad actually tried calling the hotel and emailing me and Skyping me. I never got the messages until he got back at like 12:30 p.m. And several hours after he was due to be back. I was kind of worried. Went to the square to check my email, and here he rolls up in this SUV. 2 American ladies picked him up on the highway, and he was already best friends with them by the time he got back. But he said the bike was just broke hard, wasn't running now. So we went to see Joel, and him and a buddy and Brad jumped in a pickup truck. I followed on my bike, and it was about 15 miles up the road. Threw the bike into the back of the pickup truck, brought it back, and it showed, the welding and grinding down, making new parts, it just did not stand up. It only lasted about 60, 70 miles before it came completely apart, and took the cam chain with it this time. So we were ready. I should say Brad was just done with it. He was in such a black mood at this point. He was just ready to be absolutely done with the trip, done with this bike. He tried to sell it for parts at a pretty major loss. He suggested maybe leaving it on the side of the road and hoping it disappeared. There were just no good options at this point. And Joel actually called around again, and this time was actually able to find used parts for the bike, a camshaft and rocker arms, and a cam chain from a guy who was converting his bike to a race bike. So he had put the hot cam and associated parts. So he had these leftover used parts that he offered to sell for 2,000 pesos. That's about $160. In the States, those parts would run close to $1,000 new and even used. You'd be lucky to get them for under $500. So for $160, and then Joel, I think, feeling bad about the kind of botched up repair job that didn't work, he offered to install those parts for free, no labor. And so Brad kind of reluctantly said, okay, let's do that, but I want to see the parts first. So that night we hung out with Tony, a Canadian expat. She has a Tootsie's bar in town. And I hung out with her and met her parents who run a B&B that's on the north side of town. And then went to bed pretty early. We were woken up at 7 a.m. on Tuesday with a knock on the door. And here it was Joel. He had the parts already. Turns out he had ridden all the way to Guerrero Negro, about 100 miles away. Had ridden there during the middle of the night and back. So he left at midnight, got back at 7 a.m., all night on a public bus to get these parts. And the parts were in pristine condition. Brad said, awesome, let's do it. He said, okay, the bike will be ready this afternoon. And so then Brad and I were just laying in our beds, woken up, so early, and said, you know what, we're in San Ignacio. We're 40 miles away from the lagoon. Why have we not gone to see the whales yet? So we jumped on my bike, 2 up, 40 miles, about 45 miles away. Most of it was paved, and then there was a pretty rough road for the last 10 miles or so. And Brad was on the back. He said it was the longest he's ever ridden on the back of somebody's bike in one day in his life. And I don't think he enjoyed it all that much. But anyways, we were so happy we went to see the whales, and that we actually did get quite a bit of footage of. We ended up on a ponga that was piloted by Valentin, the same guy that had driven Brad around San Ignacio looking for the mechanic back on Friday. Super nice guy. And then the other 2 people in the boat were an older American couple from Eastern Washington, Alice and John. And you could tell that They were really excited to see the whales. It had been kind of on their bucket list. And it really hadn't been for me. I didn't really know what it was about, but after having done it, boy, I'm sure glad that I did.
Oh my goodness, a dolphin. There's his tail.
It was about a 20 or 30 minute ride from the launching point to the portion of the lagoon where most of the whales are, but once we got there, they started the show in dramatic fashion.
Right there. Oh, that was cool.
Because my GoPro was in wide angle mode, it really doesn't look like the whale is that close. It didn't really do the experience justice. He breached really close to us, and it was pretty amazing to see.
Oh, that was cool.
Well, of course, that one whale was just a bit of a show-off. Further down the lagoon, they weren't nearly as exuberant. What you're usually seeing was a spout from their blowhole, and then their back along the water, and sometimes a flipper or a tail. But even that was a neat experience because there were just blowholes all over. You got an idea of just how many whales there were in this lagoon all around you. Laguna San Ignacio is one of 3 lagoons where virtually the entire population of gray whales migrates each year in order to mate and calve. Their annual migration from the North Pacific is the longest known migration of any mammal, 10 to 14,000 miles round trip. The gray whale was once hunted nearly to extinction and is still a protected species, and as such, there are a number of rules in the lagoon that govern interaction between whales and humans. One of them is you can't chase the whales. You have to just cruise around, and sometimes they'll come to you. But as often as not, once they would get close, they would just dive deep under the boat like you see here, and then we'd see them surfacing in the distance. We went a while without seeing any close-up, just some distant spouts, and then Valentin got a call from another panga driver telling him to come out further into the lagoon where there were a couple of whales that were exceptionally friendly.
Oh, he's right under us. Right under us.
Yeah.
Here he is. Right here. Up there.
Comes up, that's good.
Guys, look at that. Oh, baby.
Whoa! Wow. That is crazy. He's right there.
Right there.
Oh!
Who's on this side? Hi, guys.
Right here under the boat. Yep, it's right under you. Oh, there it is. Oh, wow. That is amazing. Oh.
My goodness.
Wow.
Look at those barnacles.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hi,
That is incredible.
That is the coolest thing ever.
He's enormous. Oh. Wow.
Is it terrible?
Yep. Oh. Oh, wow.
The splash in the water works great.
The experience of having these giant creatures come up to our boat and wanting to interact with us and wanting to be petted by us was such an incredible experience. It turned us all into, well, pretty much blubbering idiots. It would have been a highlight of the trip even if we only had the 2 first short encounters. But these whales would not leave us alone. They kept coming back up to our boat time and time again.
Did you get footage of that?
Yeah, I did. Hey, buddy. His blowhole's right here. He's gonna get a face full of water.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's a YouTube moment.
God, we almost didn't come out here, man. That's crazy.
Wow.
Another boat.
Right here.
There he is. Hey, you buddy.
Oh, the blowhole's right here.
We were a little more cognizant of blowhole location after I got my soaking.
Yeah. That's a good well. That's a good well.
Well, kinda.
Where's the eyes? I don't see the eyes.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if they're further down.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't see the eyes.
Wonder if it's further back and down.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Hi.
That's a good well. Oh, you guys both. Hey, we kissed you. Nice salty. There you go. I'm afraid I'm gonna drop that in the water.
Yeah.
About to get the blowhole action.
Oh, there's the eye. There's the eye. You can see it.
The longer the whales stuck around, the friendlier they got, especially the smaller of the two, who just loved being petted and scratched under the chin.
Oh, there's two of them right here. Like, give me some loving.
Buddy, yeah, your buddy's pushing him out of the way. Here he comes. Oh, yeah. Oh, hi, buddy. Oh, my goodness. That's crazy with that.
Oh.
Wow. How are the barnacles going?
Yeah, it's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to go anywhere. It's like he just can't get enough. That blowhole's not gonna. That's crazy. And
You can see the light too.
Mm.
The light and the blower. Cars, look at it. Okay. We stay in the same place. Yeah.
oh yeah, it's good.
Petting a whale.
Not nearly as furry as a puppy.
They like scratching.
Oh, that's what I've been doing with my nails. I'll be like, take these barnacles off me.
Look at the eye.
Hi.
Pointed that right at you.
It's just amazing. I'm just starved. It's like my black lab. That one had his nose scratched up pretty good. Just hanging out. It's like pushing each other out of the way. It's just like my dog. There's his eye.
Yep.
And fleshy.
Hey, buddy.
After a while, we were almost blasé about it. It's like, oh, here comes another 40-foot whale that wants to be petted. But nobody wanted to leave. We actually were there with these two whales for 65 minutes, and we had to leave. They seemed like they would be coming up to us all day.
Bye-bye.
So we said goodbye and headed out.
Goodbye, Lingo.
Yeah. Little roll. Little love nudge of the boat.
See that tail.